Hi, this is Phil Congdon, pastor of New Braunfels Bible Church, with a word of encouragement for you. In Mark chapter 6, verse 50, we read, "Immediately he spoke to them and said, 'Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid.'" You know, the power of nature can bring us to our knees. Have you ever been in a terrible storm or a typhoon? Sometimes it can be like that. It can be a storm, and sometimes it can be like we've been facing for the last year and more in America and in the world. It can be a microscopic virus. Well, in Mark chapter 6, there was a storm. The disciples were afraid. They were afraid for their lives in the middle of the night on the Sea of Galilee. It was a moment of terror. And Jesus came to them, and calling out, he tells them, "Take courage." He calmed the storm. Scripture says the disciples were utterly astonished. That was because they still hadn't grasped who Jesus really was. It's fitting that Jesus, on more than one occasion, calmed a storm at sea when his disciples were afraid. Because I think for all of us who know Jesus, there can be times when our lives can seem unsteady and like we're lost in a storm. The wind and the spray seem to batter us, and we don't know what's going to happen. We're at their mercy. And in those moments, imagine the reassuring voice of Jesus coming through the storm of your life, calling above the waves, "Don't be afraid." Jesus is still calling out to us today. In the storms of life, he will say, "Don't be afraid. It is I. It is Jesus." Do you recognize who he is? Well, he's the Son of God, the Creator. Hear his voice. Take courage if you're facing storms of life. Don't be afraid, because he's the one who can calm the storms of your life.